There is substantial evidence to support it in the academic journals, in university publications and things like that, ancient primary texts that I myself have published. But if you go online and you read the attacks of Zeitgeist 1 Part 1, you'll see all of these people attacking, for instance, Acharya S. or D.M. Murdoch and the whole theory of astrotheology, saying that it's completely a theosophist, Fabian socialist creation that came out of the 1800s. There's no evidence for it whatsoever. But if you look at all of these claims, none of these people have actually read Acharya's books or the other books that they attack, like Gerald Macy and some of these other people. So you have to pay attention to that stuff. Mm-hmm. And not only that, are they saying, oh, well, she's just a disinformationist? Well, this is an ad hominem attack or a logical fallacy. They're saying Acharya is a fraud or something like that. I'm just using these as examples, right, because I see them all over the place.
Sure.
So that is an ad hominem attack, and that should alert you right away to know that, well, okay, this person, and rather than dealing with the evidence, they're attacking the man, or in this case, the woman. Mm-hmm. And so they don't want to deal with the specific evidence. So what they're doing is they're diverting attention away from that evidence on to questioning the integrity of the person instead.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So what we have to do is recognize this as false logic and go back to the work itself. And then when you end up actually reading Acharya's books, all 4 or 5 of her books yourself, you'll discover that she's got dozens of ancient primary citations and things in there that you would only find if you actually spent time reading her books or going to a university library and looking through the academic journals. Yeah. And so, people will go online and they'll do a Wikipedia search or they'll do a Google search. But if you look in her books, those aren't the citations that she's using. So by not using her citations, what you're doing, in effect, is you're creating a straw man argument. Okay, and a straw man argument is when you set up an argument that looks like the person's original argument, but what you do is you change things like the citations or whatever, and then you present that argument and pretend that that's the original argument. Mm-hmm. So, this is a very common practice. So, again, you have to go back and look at the author's research, look at their citations, and go look at those citations at what the evidence is exactly. Any other means of doing so is false logic. It's lying, okay?
Quite right.
If I say that, if you go down to Walmart, you can go buy a gallon of organic milk there, and then somebody else comes along and says, I was just down at 7-Eleven, and there is no organic milk there. What the heck are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense at all?
None.
So why would it make sense for somebody to go on Wikipedia or Google or somewhere else to look for research that is pointed out in an exactly opposite direction of what they claim, right? So it makes no sense. It's just lies.
Right.
So this is the kind of false logic or things that people do. And I haven't even had a chance to get into the quadrivium, but I do want to cover a few more logical fallacies, because the logical fallacies themselves are very important for people to understand, because they can begin to apply them right away in daily reality and see how mind control systems work in the media and things like that. And once you start understanding logical fallacies, and once you learn the names of the logical fallacies, which is very important, because what happens is when you know the logical fallacies and understand how to identify them, you take your knowledge from implicit to explicit, okay? Mm-hmm. So what that means is that, let's say you go to a car dealership and you're talking to the car dealer and he says, Tony, if you buy this car, you're going to get all the girls, and, this car comes with this and that, and, you say, well, I have this funny feeling that this guy is lying to me. I'm not quite sure what. Well, that's implicit. Well, if you say, the explicit knowledge of that would be, well, he just used an appeal to emotion on me, an appeal to flattery, an appeal to popularity, and getting on the bandwagon. I'm going to have all these pretty girls and all these things. So suddenly you have the specific names of the types of lies that he used against you.
Yes.
So then it takes it to explicit understanding or explicit knowledge of what just happened. So you're no longer left with just that funny feeling.
Yes, it's an awareness, I think, of the specific tactics or techniques,
right,
if you will.
Right. So remember
fallacies.
what I said, that logic is the art of non-contradictory identification. So what you're doing is you're identifying the specific lies. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, logic. I don't want to identify things. I don't want to know things." But that is irrationality. You cannot communicate effectively if you don't know the names or the identification of things. What are you going to say? Go over there and get the whatchamacallit, right? You
Right.
know, and somebody say, okay, so whatchamacallit? You're wasting my time here. Oh, well, it's the eraser right there underneath your left hand. And then suddenly we're communicating effectively. We're not wasting each other's time. We're not sending out a bunch of noise. And noise, like in a radio signal, is distortion, and noise and logic are the fallacies.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, and there's a lot more. I already gave you the straw man fallacy, the ad hominem, a couple
In fact, you have. I'm not sure if it is your own work or if you can point to that work. It's the pop-up video.
Sure. Well, yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. I do run another website aside from gnosticmedia.com. Actually, a few more websites, but
please share.
People will be interested in popupfallacies.com. And they can find that through the Gnostic Media website on the links down on the left there as well. But also I recommend people that want to learn more about what I'm discussing, the Trivium, to go to triviumeducation.com. That's TRIVIUM, .com. And all of this information that we're covering is up on the website, including the logical fallacies. There's videos and audio that they can check out up there. So that's a good place for people to start there.
Tremendous.
And so let's cover some more of these fallacies, though. And I mentioned appeal to ridicule. Well, or actually, I didn't mention that one. Appeal to ridicule is, let's say, I say that the Illuminati are running a lot of things going on in the world. And actually, the Illuminati, if you look at any old 1800s, early 1900s dictionary or encyclopedia, you'll see the Illuminati well discussed there. The facts of the Illuminati are pretty well discussed in any history book, etc. But a lot of people say, oh, well, it's just this Illuminati conspiracy theory. But even though it's been well proved, and even though that many of their plans that were written out have actually taken place in society, what they'll do is they'll come off with an appeal to ridicule, like, you're ridiculous, you're a conspiracy theorist, that's stupid, ha, 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 ha. So what an appeal to ridicule is you're wrong because, ha, 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 ha.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
That's all it is. That's their reasoning. So it falls under the ad hominem as well. As it's just like, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a nut, you're a loony. Appeal to ridicule. Oh, I'm supposed to believe that. Oh, why don't I just put on a tinfoil hat? Ha ha ha. Which is also a red herring, because we're not talking about tinfoil hats or anything. So you keep people focused on what you're discussing instead of letting them derail your conversation all over the place onto irrelevant topics like tinfoil hats and things like that. And you keep the conversation focused. So there's poisoning the well, which is, let's say if I get a point wrong in one of my books, and they'll say that because this single point is wrong, my entire book is wrong. Or because this single point is wrong, everything in all of my books and all of my work is wrong. That's known as poisoning the well. You have to look at each point individually on its own merit.
Sure.
Misleading vividness, personal attacks. There's the post hoc. A black cat crossed my path today. Tomorrow I get in a car accident. That's the post hoc fallacy. It's, this happened before, so therefore that happened. It's a false cause and effect.
Yes.
And the red herring is a very interesting fallacy and a very commonly used one. And maybe we can do maybe one more after this. But red herring is when I am talking about, let's say, the Trivium, and you bring up an entirely irrelevant discussion and try and make it look as it's relevant to the Trivium, and then we abandon the discussion of the Trivium for this other topic, right? And politicians do this stuff all the time. You ask a politician a pointed question, and he'll go off into some story about something else. This is an intentional tactic called the red herring. And then the
Yes.
person will be left scratching their head going, did he really just answer my question? But no. So if you can catch the politician doing that tactic, you can call them out. That's not what my question was. That's a red herring. Would you stick to the question, please?
Yes.
And let's be specific. I don't need your false rhetoric today. Let's not waste any time here.
Mm-hmm.
So where the red herring comes from is back in the fox and hound hunting, or the hound hunting the fox days. What they would do when they were training the fox or training the hound to hunt the fox is they would when they were testing the hound to make sure that it was ready to put into full use, for lack of a better word, they would have a fox go out, and then what they would do is, as the hound was hunting the fox, they would take a fish and they would drag it across the fox's trail to try to lead the hound on to the scent of the herring instead. Okay, so this is where we get the concept of red herring from.
Sure.
Taking you off the trail of the original topic onto another side topic. Another one that politicians like to use is slippery slope. Oh, if you legalize marijuana, people will be shooting heroin and snorting cocaine in the streets tomorrow.
Indeed.
This is just complete nonsense. There's no reason to suggest whatsoever that legalizing marijuana would cause any other thing. And in fact, Holland and these other countries that have legalized it have had a sharp decrease in drug use in their local populations. 12-year-olds in Amsterdam don't like to smoke marijuana, and they're one of the highest using groups in the United States. So
quite right. Well, Mr. Irvin, I apologize to have to interrupt, and unfortunately we are up against it in the time that we have left today. So I'm afraid we'll have to cut short our conversation. I am just terribly, terribly fascinated by your work. I absolutely encourage the listeners to go to www.gnosticmedia.com. That's Gnostic, Gnostic media.com. And also for more of their own homework about the subjects that we've just been talking about, these fallacies, I definitely encourage folks to go to it. Help me understand again. It's popupfallacies.com?
Yeah, popupfallacies.com, and it's popupfallacies.com.
Excellent.
And they can get, if they go to the Trivium Education website, they'll find that right there on the top as well.
Excellent. Mr. Irvin, I'm so sorry that we're short on time today, but I want you to know how very much impactful I find your work to be, your research, and the quality of your thinking. I thank you so very much for your time today, and I certainly hope we could continue our conversation at some time in the future.
Sure, not a problem. And would you do me a favor and send me a recording of the interview as well?
Absolutely. You'll have it just as soon as it's prepared.
All right. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you again. And folks, tune in next week for the Crimson Pill, where we'll continue our exploration into some of these subjects that are affecting us in so many ways all around the world every single day. Thanks again so much. Bye-bye.